Hello and welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. It's game day. Pakistan take on Hong Kong in the last Group A encounter in this Asia Cup. My name is Tanay Tiwari. With me, Mr. Ajay Jadeja, Mr. Parthiv Patel. Now, Pakistan are in a position where they have to set a date with India on Sunday. Hong Kong are in a position where they're like, हम उस approach से खेलेंगे कि उनका कुछ रहना नहीं, हमारा कुछ बचना नहीं. That would be nice, no?
Though Hong Kong will obviously, they have obviously nothing to lose here once they've reached the stage where, for them it's everything to gain from here. So I think, they will try and gain a lot of confidence. Someone, as we spoke yesterday, someone will try and, get some runs, maybe get a 50 or a 70, which they can remember they've got against this quality attack of Pakistan. So yeah, I mean, they have everything to gain here. And if Pakistan loses his game, they have everything to lose for sure.
I'm just wondering the kind of reaction Pakistan's fans would have if Pakistan go on to lose this. I mean, it's a big ask. As AJ said yesterday, Rain has a better chance of winning. But if that happens, the fans in Pakistan and the proverbial TV sets in Pakistan, as they say, no?
I think it'd be at the moment Pakistan is going through a disaster with floods. This would be worse than that. I mean, not trying to make fun of the situation that there is, but, I can't see that happening. I can't imagine that happening. When I think of Pakistan, Pakistan, if something like this, there used to be a team in UAE in olden days, where, in a triangular, you'd have UAE because of a host and that. The Pakistan team then would not even turn up. They'd send a captain, toss ho jaye, to fir batsman aayenge, fir bowler aayenge. Because that's how they used to approach, that's how they used to think, that's how superior they were. That's how they would think. So, I mean, today I was surprised even, when we were coming in watching that television and discussion going on between Hong Kong and Pakistan. What is the chance? Should Hong Kong play this way? That Pakistan, in those days would have thought like that. And I still think the chances are as slim as that.
Well, they are, but the way Hong Kong played in their last game against India, they were competitive in pockets, and they'd like to be competitive again against Pakistan. Now, they've won the toss. They've opted to field first, so they're trying to perhaps repeat what they did against India, bowl well in pockets. Their spinners are very reliable, something that we saw in the game against India as well. But we saw the pitch. There was a sheen. It was black. AJ, you think it's a good toss to win and bowl first for Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think that's I don't think there's a chance, but if there is, you're absolutely right. I mean, this would probably be... See, when you're playing a game, what happens? When you 11 men in there, total on board, one batsman can have a great day sometimes. Something goes crazy. So if you're taking a chance against a side which is superior, then this is definitely a better chance. And looking at that wicket, yes, and if it's still that sheen that you see, then there'll be a very high-scoring game. And then it would probably look like, they made a big mistake. They should have batted, at least got whatever, because then you can try and defend it. But if Pakistan go on to get 200 plus runs, then even that one man that I'm dreaming of might have a dream game someday and take the game away becomes that much further.
I think that I feel that the best chance is when they get at least 130 runs. And, if they get 130, if they would have batted first. Even if you look at the history of the cricket, the lesser ability side would have only beaten the better sides by batting first. Only, the pressure gets the better of them. If you get to, say, 130, 140, and then Pakistan maybe, say, 10 for 2, then there is pressure, and then everything else.
You're also confident that you can perhaps, add
so
more
maybe,
pressure.
that could be the only chance I saw that I thought Hong Kong should have batted first, and that when only the slimmest chance to which he's not giving. I'm saying even the 0.1% chance if they have is if they bat first. Otherwise, I don't think they have a chance.
He's planned it pretty well. If they batted well, we would get home quicker.
That is true. But Hong Kong's captain Nizakat Khan at the toss has said that we prefer chasing. That's something that they also did in the qualifiers. We saw them do this in the 2018 Asia Cup as well, where they ran India very close. I think India won that game by just 26 runs. So they have their confidence in their batting. They want to see a total and then chase it down. Let's have a look at the playing 11s then. Both teams remain unchanged. I mean, Pakistan remaining unchanged. We discussed this in the preview as well, PPpedia. Is that a surprise to you? They're bowling Naseem Shah, who seemed to be in some sort of a trouble with that cramp, so perhaps that cramp wasn't as serious.
Yeah, the cramp is never serious. I mean, you get recovered with the cramps. It's just that moment of 15-20 minutes. That's when you get into trouble. But I'm surprised that Pakistan has not made any changes. I mean, they have time. Naseem Shah has been doing really well. The fast bowlers are finding it a bit difficult. With in next week they'll be playing 3 games. 4 games.
Yeah.
So
they start Sunday, so they play a game right after tomorrow.
So, I mean, it's surprising to me. I thought I would have rested one of the either Naseem Shah or Haris Rauf or someone who's had a long game. Just try and give them a bit of time of recover, and try and give game to Hassan Ali. If something happens in the tournament, then you have Hassan Ali ready to play, or you have Hasnain, who's another fast bowler who could be ready to play.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe they are trying to keep surprises like they did from Naseem Shah. But I would have definitely rested one of the fast bowler for sure.
Ajay, let's have a look at that playing 11 again. And what PP is saying is correct, because you play so many games back to back, the frequency and the intensity, add to that the heat. If there was one player that you would say you'd perhaps rest in this game, like India did with Hardik Pandya in that game against Hong Kong, who would that be for you?
Oh, I agree with him. That's one thought that, PP just put out there. Or, Naseem Shah's was that first game in 2020. So maybe I would, carry on with him, totally different conditions, want to see how does he bowl in wickets like this. Or, looking to give him experience, whereas resting is one option. So maybe one of your most experienced players. But I'm also surprised that they haven't, made a single change, not tried to use this game for anything else, and, gone in with that same side. So maybe we are wrong the way we are looking at Hong Kong. They look at Hong Kong in a total different way.
Yeah.
So they want to keep that same team, bring that consistency in, tick those boxes and do all the right surface. But it was an opportunity for Pakistan to either rest, like he said, a couple of players who've had trouble with fitness, or get somebody in, give them an opportunity. There's a leg spinner in that side who, and leg spinners. They don't play a leg spinner very often these days, but maybe this was a time to, bring him into the game, or maybe they want to hide him. They want to bring him out just before that game against India, maybe the next one, or in the final. Sometimes, each team thinks differently. With Indian team, we know how we've been going, so it's easy to, follow them and figure out why they've done this. But with Pakistan, it's really surprising, because as it is, they're never, so solid. They always have changes, whether it's now it seems like a period where Pakistan's got everything settled. Captain's been the same for a while. So maybe it's a new Pakistan that we are looking at. Pakistan's thinking differently, and certainly they've surprised me.
Is this to send out a statement, though, also perhaps come out with all your might and decimate Hong Kong, and perhaps send a message to fellow group members, India, that see, against you, Hong Kong stretch the game further. We close it very soon.
They're playing on a completely different surface here. I think more than that, it is, before going into game, the statement would have been, before going into game, resting 4 players. Their main players say, okay, we know, we are confident about our ability. I mean, yes, you want to win when you're playing against, now that you've, got in with your best 11, maybe the guys they've gone with the continuity which we talk about, and then it doesn't matter, I mean, whether they win big or they don't win big, because India-Pakistan games, it doesn't rely on the history of the game. I mean, if you look at last time India-Pakistan played, Pakistan beat India hands down with 10 wickets, and we had a close thriller. So, I mean, it's all about handling the pressure then and then. But I mean, bigger statement would have been, okay, we know where we are, we know where our team is, we can beat any side. So now we are resting our 4 bowlers or 4 main players.
Yeah, let's have a look at Hong Kong's 11 as well. They've not changed anything as well. And they also have a paucity of the number of players they can pick from. I think they have a total pool of 20 players, of which 14 were, of course, picked for. So Nizakat Khan and Yaseem Murtaza will open. Babar Hayat, who was very good in the last game, takes that number 3 slot. Kinchit Shah, Aizaz Khan, Scott McKechnie make that middle order. Then there's Zishan Ali, Harun Arshad, who's also a big hitter. Ehsan Khan, they have a very experienced off-spinner. Then they have Mohammad Ghazanfar, who's a leg spinner, and Ayush Shukla, who claimed Rohit Sharma's wicket in the last game. So Hong Kong going out with this playing 11 and wanting to make an impact in this game. But the one thing that everyone will have their eyes on, and मैंने ना पढ़ाई करी है थोड़ी, वैसे भी करता हूँ, but आज और करी है. I think Pakistan have an India problem, because their top order is consuming so many deliveries, something that India had a problem with. Pakistan's top order, especially Babar, Rizwan, and if you count Fakhar Zaman in that, they play such massive number of deliveries, 94% of the deliveries, or thereabouts, 69%, my apologies. They play that number of deliveries and they don't leave anything for the middle order. And that's becoming a problem, especially every time they're batting first, because those numbers are skewed very much in favor of them chasing. Every time they bat first, they don't do so well.
Because I think, see, Pakistan is not playing that much of T20 cricket also. I mean, look at batting first, their record, and chasing. They prefer chasing. That one of the reason is they are bowling heavy side. So most of the time, if you look at the winning percentage in chasing is 91, because their bowlers get teams out in under 150 or 160. That's when it suits their kind of batting lineup, which Babar Azam or Mohammad Rizwan kind of batsman, and they have only one attacking batsman, which is Fakhar Zaman. So then he becomes a very, very important cog in the wheel. So so that's something which they would be thinking, but that percentage is higher of chasing more victories is because their bowling is much stronger. And once you are chasing 150 or 160, it's easier to score than to defend 140, 150, even if you have a proper bowling lineup, because then other teams, they calculate and they more often than not, they chase down, especially with T20 cricket. But yes, approach is something which everyone is talking about. And that's something which we spoke about as Indian team after that World Cup defeat, and that's something they're going to trying to address. And they can talk about, a lot of Indian team can talk about and assess, because coming here before the Asia Cup, they already have played a lot of T20 cricket. Whereas Pakistan has not played that much of T20 cricket. They are playing a lot of T20 cricket now. After after this Asia Cup, they could probably sit and check whether this approach is right or wrong. But it depends on your team. It doesn't depend that there is no template that worldwide every team can play the same approach. It depends on your team, your ability, what kind of players you are playing with.
Yeah, AJ, now if you look at that, if you look at those numbers again, something that PP said there, the fact that, see, they've played against the West Indies, so the 2 games they've played, they won. But batting first, when they've played against the big teams like Australia and India, that problem has come back to haunt them, as is very evident, because they lost against Australia by 3 wickets and against India by 5 wickets. And as PP said, they've not been able to address that post that last World Cup. Should they? And if they do, how do they do that?
I think one thing, the numbers that you showed before this, chasing and defending, I think most teams in the world in this format of the game have a better record when they are chasing, because this format probably does that. And we see that in IPL, we see that, in all international teams, I think around the world, their better numbers will always be when they're chasing, number one. 2, you said that, they played 69 or how many balls? The first
69%. Yeah,
69%. So if I was, looking at a team or a coach or a captain, I would want my first 3 to play actually 100% balls if they could.
All right.
Because in any team, the best players always go at the top. You never keep your best players at the end. So if you have your best players opening 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and generally the batting order is who? Is number 5 a better player than 3, or is a 3 better player than open? This is the shortest format of game that we've seen. In one-day cricket, when it started, it used to be a test cricket system, and then then everybody figured out, put your best players right at the top, because it's a limited over game, and there was 300 balls. Now we are talking of a 120 ball game. You want your best players to play as many balls. So I would look at that number, and same numbers are facts. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. I would look at those numbers and I would say, this is a team that I would worry, because their best players are playing 69% of the time and only 3. So the rest of the players have a different way. Approach is something, I mean, who's your best player, that you decide. I'm not going to tell you, everybody looks at a player and thinks this one is better than that one. But the basic of cricket is that the best players go out to bat first. And if they're playing 69% of your balls, I see a solidity in that side. And for me, that's a plus, not the minus.
Yeah, so if approach is in question, PP, then the question marks have to be around players like Babar Azam, players like Rizwan Khan, because they do set the platform, they do bat long, but the kind of numbers that you need, the kind of conversions that you need, perhaps this was a question around Virat Kohli as well, that if you're playing that many balls, and we've seen how Virat Kohli, after a certain number of balls, he accelerates. Do they want the same thing from Babar and Rizwan as well in that case then?
I mean, that's the right way to put it as well. If you're set, if you know that there's a certain way you play, but these are the Babar's and Rizwan's numbers, which is strike rate, which we are talking about. Always the more they play, the better they get. Like they start with 113 both, and then 134, 128 is Rizwan in the middle of overs, which are great numbers. So if you look at Babar's numbers, Babar is 152 and Rizwan's 211. So if you have consumed 69% of deliveries, you want ideally you want one of them to play till 17th, 18th, or maybe just bat through the inning and try and see what they can do about it. I mean, if you're playing with if you're consuming 70% of deliveries, and if you're playing the striker of 110, then there's no use. So then it has to go up. It has to, if you've scored 50 or 40 balls, then in next 15 or 20 balls, you should be able to score those 30 or 40 runs. So maybe if you played half number of balls, say 69, so 70 balls, if you have played 70 balls, you should be able to score those 90 runs. So that gives everyone else at least another 50 balls. And if someone else is playing with, say, 50 balls, 80, then you get your 170.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing in conditions like this, 170, 180 usually is a good score, winning score. Like yesterday when we saw, I mean, the game went till the last over. If they had taken the catches and everything, I mean, Bangladesh would have defended that total. So if you're playing with 70 balls in an inning, you should be able to score at least 90 or 100.
Yeah. Yeah, so 70 balls, if you get, you will score more than 100.
100, yeah. So
I can't think of a player who's got 70 balls and not got 100.
Yeah.
You know, generally in these days, cricket is about 60, 65 balls, they get to 100. And, you know, if they don't get it, whoever comes in at that stage scores at that. But interesting in that fact was the middle overs.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at Babar and Rizwan, you think, oh, Babar must be a much more slower player. But when you get into those middle overs where the field opens up, look at even the boundary percentage goes down for Rizwan, and that's why his strike rate goes down. Whereas boundary percentage for Babar goes up. So what that tells me is that he's playing those when the field is open, he's actually hitting, you know, almost equal number of boundaries that he's hitting in the start and all the way till the end. But Rizwan has this big jump when he gets to the death overs.
Yeah.
Look at him, he's got 29% runs with boundary. So, you know, yeah, you are. These are facts and these are, you know, non-emotional numbers. They come from Pakistan, so all of us can be free to talk about. But this tells you what it is. I mean, if you get your openers in, the two guys, whoever you're talking about, if you say average it out, you come to about 120 strike rate. So which is what, 42, which is an average score around the world in the power play. Then you get to the middle stage. And if you put that strike rate, 134 is 130. Which is whatever it is. And then you get to the final overs when these guys get there, they're averaging 180 or 200 strike rate. If these guys can play 100 overs, you'll score the same number of runs that if they get out early and the guys who come from the back have to first defend and then score at the end.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's the total of your team, where you're getting.
Correct, fair enough.
And I am yet to see, I think even going back to 2008, 9, 10, 11, where 2020 had just started, you were still getting 200s. Not probably as often as you are getting today. When is the last time India scored 200 in an international game?
I think against England.
In the
T20I series?
Batting first. That we didn't win that game. I think we fell short by a few runs.
Yeah,
where Surya Kumar Yadav got that 100. Yeah, but we ended up losing the game.
Yeah.
But those numbers will look so great at that time. So I'm saying it is not that anything has changed.
Yeah.
It's still that because you haven't changed the rule in this 20-over format. Now with this extra fielder coming in, I think the numbers will start showing differently.
Yeah.
So the game, there's a limit to which you can, push a rubber band.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it breaks. So that is the key to be finding your team strength, that how you, like he said rightly, how you use your players and how much can you stretch at what stage. If you stretch it a bit too much, it breaks too early. If you're 3 down for 30, you will miss Babar Azam and Rizwan and say, oh yeah, I wish we had a great start too. The other day, Babar got out, see what the change made.
Yeah.
Last time they didn't get out, they chased that score down with ease. So I'm always for that. An opener gets a chance every inning. If he gets 20, 30 quick ones, he's no use for you. He's only good for numbers. He's never good for your team. The guy who gets in on his good day, comes back not out, is the guy that you need to back. And these two, for me, have done that enough times.
So you'd stay with them as openers? Or because there's a big popular opinion of perhaps promoting Fakhar Zaman and getting one of them to come and bat number 3. So it's either Babar Azam and Fakhar Zaman or Mohammad Rizwan and Fakhar Zaman.
So it's almost going back because, that's what it used to be. Fakhar Zaman used to open. I mean, I remember that game I want to forget. That game where he whacked us in England and took the game away. Babar was moved up the order. I mean, if I'm right, I don't follow Pakistan as much. But he was a middle order batsman and he was always solid. He would get runs, but he was slower in certain ways or people thought he wasn't moving along. That's when he went on to open. Yeah. So, then why have him if you think he's not good enough? But I mean, I don't think that's the case. And at this moment, Pakistan cannot think beyond Babar Azam.
Yeah, correct. So it's one of those things that perhaps Pakistan have a problem with, and maybe not as much as well, because they have a very stable opening partnership. Of course, the kind of impact that they've delivered in the past, they've not been able to deliver in these times. But that's perhaps also one thing with form as well. Once it turns around, those runs will start coming, as they did last year as well. But those questions are coming from all of you. Hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. Let's see what the question for the day is from the fans on Twitter. Let's see who's the lucky fan who's got his question in today. It is Hari Krish Ravichandran, who asks, which current Indian player would have vastly improved this Pakistan team and vice versa? Good question. That's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question, but Indian team already has so many players. Why do we need a player from Pakistan?
But still, as an exercise.
I don't see there's no hole in Indian team at this point of time.
In the Pakistan team, okay.
We could do with
a left arm pacer.
We could do with Sainchab.
Yeah.
But problem is he's injured. That's why we're not.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pakistan team.
Could they?
They have solid openers. They have good middle over batsmen. Yeah. They don't have a quality leg spinner, maybe.
So use
leg spinner, and or a quality spinner that's sitting on our bench. You're not playing him, might as well. Because he's probably the finest spinner in the world at the moment, but he's on the bench. So maybe that is one department.
There is a disclaimer to it. We are answering a question with a hypothetically thing.
Absolutely.
Have fun.
We're answering Hardik Pandya's question.
Correct thing,
But wouldn't they want Hardik Pandya as well? I mean, the world wants him.
Everyone would have wanted Hardik Pandya in the team. Why not? When someone can bowl, bat, field.
Will he fit into a bowler in that side?
Good question. Might as well. The way he's bowling, they need a good middle order dasher.
Who will you take out?
From it.
Those
Hardik Pandya would make plays for anyone, no?
Nobody's questioning that. I'm saying now you're
in that playing 11, if I have to fit Hardik
your
Pandya.
Question, you're taking one to Pakistan.
Yeah.
So I'm asking a question, hypothetical again. Which three fast bowlers would you take out and you think he's better bowler than one of those?
But he'll go in as fourth bowler, like in the Indian team.
All right, that's a tough question. Your question hurt me.
So
we'll move on.
You should say, I'll get back to you on this.
Sorry?
I'll get back to you on this.
I'll get back to you on Monday and mail will arrive.
Yes, 100%. Yes, it's weekend time now. We don't work on weekends. But the one team that would like to make a mark here is Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong, with the limited talent that they have, they've been very good in pockets, especially in that India game as well. And the one thing that was a highlight, especially of their bowling, was the spinners, the three spinners that they have, led of course by Ehsan Khan. So now we've already seen how Afghanistan have built a bowling attack around their spinners, and they now have some very good pacers as well. In here, with Hong Kong, you've got Ehsan Khan, who was very good in that last game, and in the last time they played India as well. In Ghaznafer, you have a leg spinner who's still learning, up and coming, and then you have Yasim Murtaza, who also opens the batting. So can these three become that axis around which they can build perhaps a bowling attack of the future?
I mean, there's always a possibility, but you have to look at their age also. Like Ehsan Khan and the left arm spinner, they both are they're into 30s already. So they have their experience of, they've played first class cricket in Pakistan. So there are basically, I think, if you really want to do well, you have to have your fast bowlers in your side in world cricket. I mean, if you have good fast bowlers, that's when the team builds around that. Yes, Afghanistan, you can talk about the spinners doing really well, but now they're winning games because they've got another quality fast bowler in their side. That is another reason. But yes, I mean, it's a good step for Hong Kong here that they have good three quality spinners which they can play with, irrespective of the surface. In even last surface in Dubai, it wasn't turning, but Ehsan Khan was still nailing those Yorkers. Even though he was spinner, he was bowling those Yorkers. In last Asia Cup, he's got Dhoni out, he's got a couple of wickets.
He got Rohit Sharma
out as well. Yeah. So there is definitely they can build around it, but they will need another fast bowler in their ranks as well.
Yeah, correct. Because we've seen the growth of Afghanistan players, and of course, they don't have a robust domestic structure either. But the one thing that has helped them is the fact that they go and ply their trade in a lot of these T20 leagues. And from there, they gain a lot of experience of playing like professionals, playing in professional setups with some very high quality players. And perhaps things like that can also benefit them, because the league, I think in that Emirates League, it has that quota of players who have to come from associate nations. So once they come and play at the highest level with a lot of these players, that experience can also help them.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, what you said, players going out, playing, gathering experience. But the difference between Hong Kong and Afghanistan is a big one. At this level, yeah, they can go and play at, in UAE or places in leagues and get a little experience. But your growth as a player is happening much before you get to this stage. Yeah. And the advantage that Afghanistan has there is they just go across the border in Pakistan. Most of these guys, whether it's Rashid, whether it's them, all of them used to play in that, the border area region of, there's enough cricket that happens at a younger age. So you develop your skills, develop your game, and start understanding the game at that level where you have time. When you're young, you can spend the whole day at the ground. Unfortunately, for a lot of these, Mr. Kinchit Shah could probably take a couple of months off, and jewelry shop will run. But most of them are working throughout the year. So and as he said, post 30, playing for India, playing for England is much easier now with 4 physios, masseurs. You have a spa, you can train. Yeah. Whereas these guys have to train and then go out there, do their jobs 8-10 hours a day. So that is why the development part and I totally agree with Parthiv, that the development part that we expect from what we got from Afghanistan, I doubt that you'll get from Hong Kong. And I hope I'm totally wrong and they prove me wrong and next year they come back, and win the Asia Cup or they turn it around. But realistically looking at it, it's not possible because one, they've lost the time, like he said, they're all over that hill and now gaining that experience. Whereas all these guys who are doing whatever they've done in the last 3 months and have qualified is why? Because they've played their junior cricket in Pakistan. Most of them.
All right.
They've played junior cricket. In fact, the left arm spinner Murtaza, his first class debut was for Pakistan. He played under 19 for Pakistan. So he has grown up like that. It's just that he hasn't been able to carry on honing those skills. And now, because he has that thing already, that's why he looks better than all the other spinners that you see.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
No,
just on that round about Afghanistan, they had the centers in India. They were practicing in Lucknow, they were practicing in Noida, so they were practicing all around it.
And they didn't have jobs. This was their job.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
See, there's a difference
their sole
between,
focus as professional cricketers was the game.
And then you give everything to it, and then there's a whole mindset change.
Absolutely.
It's like when you come to Bombay, somebody wants to become a film star, still sits in one of the cities in this country, can never make it. But he has to come here, give up everything, put in, and then it might work in. But if you don't come here, then there's no chance of becoming an actor in this country. I mean, just an example. I mean, I don't know about acting, but that's how it is. You've got to give in. So the Hong Kong team, I don't think has that opportunity.
Which is why they say the grassroots system is so important. Everywhere you see the grassroots system is robust, it keeps churning out a good number of cricketers. And with Hong Kong, as was self-admittedly said by their coach as well, that they have a pool of just 20 players to pick from. So that is a problem. And they will have to devise a system if they have to continue competing at these big stages. But the one big piece of news that's also coming in from the Indian squad is that Ravindra Jadeja is out injured from the Asia Cup. Akshar Patel will be his replacement in that side. A knee injury, and this has been a problem with Ravindra Jadeja. Now he's tryst with injuries. Every time you see him getting back to full fitness, getting back to that same rhythm. Look at this. In January 21, he had a broken left thumb. Then in November 21, a right forearm, then a bruised rib during the IPL, now a right knee again. So these injuries keep happening to him again and again. And now we're in the build-up to a T20 World Cup as well.
I think if you look at all of these injuries, broken rib is ball. If ball comes and hit you, you can't do anything about it. There's a thumb injury. We can't say an injury. It is the ball which has come and hit you.
Of course.
Forearm also is that injury. So those are, when you are playing with those hard balls, this can happen. But knee also. First knee injury was because it hit somewhere. It wasn't the proper injury kind of a thing, because Jadeja is quite fit. But yeah, I mean, for Akshar, this has become like life has come to a full circle. Because last Asia Cup, if you look at Akshar Patel got injured, and Jadeja took his place, and he never gave it back. Here, now Jadeja got injured, Akshar is going to get his chances. I'm sure, if they've been drafted into the team, hopefully he'll play, and so that the balance doesn't change. He may not bat at number 4, but that could just leave open a place for Rishabh Pant also. And then there is another thing. The Asia Cup has been like that for a lot of players. For Hardik Pandya got injured in last Asia Cup, and now the life has come to full circle. But yeah, when that's the beauty of Indian cricket. When we're talking about, see, obviously Ravindra Jadeja brings a lot of things to get with him, the fielding, the batting, the bowling, and everything. And Akshar also brings in almost same kind of thing, especially the way he has improved his batting in last couple of years or in IPL. He has won games only by his batting. Obviously, you can't compare fielding with Ravindra.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, there's a similar kind of player who's ready, and that's the system which we are going in. So if someone gets injured, there is another player who's ready to take the place and will not hit team's chances also.
That is true with Akshar Patel. Everything that is asked of him for so long, he's been doing that for Team India. And he's, of course, replacing Ravindra Jadeja. But if we look at that injury list again, AJ, the one thing that stands out is the kind of, and the number of games he's missed. Look at that. The first injury, he missed that Brisbane Gabba test that India won eventually. And then the series versus England at home, where he's very important. Then the tour to South Africa and the home series versus the West Indies. Then the back half of IPL and T20Is, home T20Is versus South Africa. Then the series versus the West Indies, now the Asia Cup in the build-up to that T20 World Cup. So it's just unfortunate that these injuries keep recurring at such important junctures.
Yeah, I mean, for him, certainly it's sad. I mean, he won't want to miss it. But, just to carry from what he said, because the last Asia Cup, he had been left out. He wasn't part of Indian team. Akshar had earned his place in sense that, he'd had 8-10 years. He wasn't having the best run, so he was dropped and he was brought in. And then Akshar came in. And when you look at those injuries and, if you put that list down, all credit to Akshar Patel. I mean, I'm not trying to get votes from Patel and leave Jadeja votes out. It's not that. I'm just trying to put a little perspective to it. And like he said, he may not bat at 4. Throughout that series, whenever he's come in, that England tour that you talk about, that Ravindra missed out and it was a big opportunity and those wickets were tailor-made for him. But Akshar, did probably better or worse. I mean, better or equally well. And he's not let you miss Ravindra ever in that period. So, which tells you a lot about Akshar as well. So, maybe this is a way, like life works, that, you were in that side, you got injured, you couldn't come back, and now, he's got injured and his turn has come back. But I'm with him. I'm not too sure whether they probably play, because at the moment India has a too much problem of plenty, and to solve that problem they might just stick to the side that played last time and say, okay, Akshar has just come, we can do without a left arm spin. I hope that doesn't happen and he gets his chance. But he was absolutely right. Jadeja fielding, you cannot compare.
You can't. And Indian fans, Ravindra Jadeja fans would hope that he returns and regains fitness as soon as possible, because there's a T20.
Whenever there's a Jadeja on the field, you cannot compare the fielding with anyone.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, yes. Correct. That came late to me. That came a little late to me.
I think it's good to have friends around you. They make you look better.
That is true. That is true. So then, the last piece of business before we go is the joy factor question. Now, what googliest joy are thrown our way today? Yesterday, we tried to crack it, and I cracked the one part of it which wasn't relevant. Let's see if we can crack it today. The joy factor question of the day is, which feat in Test cricket has only been performed by Ian Botham, Imran Khan and Shakib Al Hasan? All right. Which feat in Test cricket has only been performed by Ian Botham, Imran Khan and Shakib Al Hasan? I have no clue.
Some all-round performance.
All-round performance, yeah. Some set of wickets.
100 and...
All right, okay.
Double 100. No, double 100. Botham doesn't have a double 100.
Maybe Pfeiffer and 100.
Pfeiffer and 100 or... Number.
Something like that. Something like that. We'll leave it for the viewers.
The series, how many times? Or...
Yeah, something. It can be anything. Yeah, we'll leave it for viewers to decide. Of course, hashtag Cricbuzz Live.
Look at his face. He knows that we've given the answer in between. That's why he's not saying it.
Okay.
Is it?
Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. No, you've not. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live is where you send your answers in on Twitter.
Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. You have not. ये नया हैशटैग बनाया?
नहीं नहीं, मैंने कहा आपने जवाब नहीं दिया और अब आप हैशटैग सवाल भेज दीजिए. नहीं, जवाब भेज दीजिए. मुझे कंफ्यूज कर रहे हैं आप लोग. प्लीज लेट मी concentrate, sir. You can send your answers #CricBuzzLive on Twitter. That's the hashtag. And once you've done that, you also have to come and see The Summer Stalemate. Yes, that docuseries, 2-part docuseries that we've made, replete with HD match visuals, stories being told by Michael Vaughan, Harsha Bogle, and Dinesh Karthik from that iconic India-England series that was played in England. The last test of which was अभी हुआ था थोड़े दिन पहले. उसी की है, देख लीजिएगा जरूर. चलिए भाई, now is the test that we have to give, the prediction game, which we failed yesterday, I think. No, I won. तब भी मैं सोचूं कैसे आप लोग बात नहीं कर रहे.
That's why you're creating
47. Yes.
You could have just told us. We could have said you won.
You weren't going to say. You weren't going to say that is right. Okay, prediction game. How much do Pakistan score? Hong Kong, of course, won the toss and opted to bowl.
222.
222.
No, I mean, see, that's what they should deal with Hong Kong in a way.
All right.
That's the way, but it won't happen.
So, what is your prediction? Is that your prediction?
Still T20.
Still, okay.
T20, 222.
All right.
210.
210. 222. 192. Low balling it.
Low balling it.
Yeah. No, just by a bit, not by a
But
lot.
why?
I have faith in Ehsan Khan. I think he'll deliver the 4 overs of his life, and Pakistan will not be able to get to 222.
But they'll get to 192.
They can get to 192.
That's more than
That's more than enough. All right, then we'll see. We'll see if that happens or not. We'll of course come back at the end of 10 overs with Cricbuzz Combox, and then at the end of the innings with Cricbuzz Live. That's all that we have for you on this installment of Cricbuzz Live. Thank you, PP Media. Thank you, AJ.
Pleasure.
Thank you to all of you as well. We'll see you super soon.